What are these? Jaguars?
Yep, Jaguars Part 2.
World War II.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Working Class Music. I'm one of your hosts, Jason.
And I'm Tia.
And on this week's episode, we're doing Jaguars Part 2, kind of a follow-up to our other Jaguars episode. So we decided we'd do something kind of cool since Fender just released the Vintera 2s. So today we're doing the Vintera 1 versus the Vintera 2. So what are the differences? The Vintera 2, what separates this from the Vintera 1? Well, this is based on the 70s era, which gives you a maple neck, front and back on the fretboard. It is maple. Secondly, you have block and binding in black, which is one of my favorites. Other than that, the Vintera 2 has the Vintera 2 pickups. They are a bit more punchier for a little bit higher output 70s sound, definitely distortion friendly. Another big difference to note is you still have the 70s style headstock. The body is older, the finish is different. Obviously it's black.
If I don't say it, I'll pass out.
You can also get it in vintage white. This has the 70s style headstock tuners, so it's pretty vintage accurate. And other than that, yeah, it's a Jaguar. Going back to its predecessor, the Vintera 1, you do have one big noticeable difference, Pa Ferro. That is the fretboard material. You have the Vintera 1 Jaguar pickups, which is going to give you a brighter 60s era sound. You have the correct vintage spacing. As much as I hate this, the correct vintage bridge. Also, the Vintera Jaguar is available in Ocean Turquoise and Classic Sunburst.
With the Vintera 1 line, there is a modified series where they do have a Jaguar with humbuckers. And so far with the Vintera 2 line, we haven't seen a modified.
Yeah, no, the only reason I skipped that is because both of them vintage era, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go.
But with all of that said, let's get on to some sound.
most punk thing or the most poser thing you can do?
Yes.
I think the least punk thing you can do is worry about what other people think.
That's true. That is true.
Where are you starting at?
Starting at the neck.
Solid.
I think that might be it.
Final first impressions.
Let's effing go, dude.
Final thoughts, impressions, words.
What are
wish
our
list.
thoughts? Jason, you start.
I'm gonna start with the Vintera. My opinion from our last video has slightly changed, but not by much. Not the biggest fan of Paw Pharaoh. I still love the looks. Other than that, it does sound great. It's a very bright, jangly guitar, and that's pretty much what you want from a vintage Jaguar. There are some things that are not vintage correct, but at that point it's nitpicking.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
I'm gonna say this as far as the Vintera 2. I'm very impressed by it, and not for the reasons you might think. First of all, let's address this. The quality control is top notch.
Yeah.
They definitely went out of their way.
They did a whole 180.
Yeah, they definitely went out of their way to like make this a really good guitar. But the thing that impressed me the most is how they got vintage specific with certain little details, like the headstock tuners, the block and binding, just everything. And the pickups being more throaty, more having more presence, more output on the 70s.
More aggression.
Yeah, it's the perfect guitar for punk rock, which that era was about. So my only complaint, $1,500 is a bit much. I think $1,500 is a bit much when you're like $300 away from a mod shop. But I get it. I personally would probably knock it down like 100 or two, and that would be a bit more reasonable. But it's not the most expensive made in Mexico in the Fender lineup.
Right.
So other than that, it gets all glowing reviews from me. It's just the little details that they paid attention to the entire Vintera 2 line that makes this, in my eyes, a worthy successor, and really, most importantly, worthy of your money.
So, question, is the Jaguar the most expensive out of the Vintera 2 line?
Yes.
Okay. And
Just like it was back in the day.
that's what I was going to say, because I noticed that the Vintera 1, it was also the most expensive guitar. That is interesting. I wonder why. I don't mean that like in a sarcastic way. I legitimately...
Yeah, it was
Why?
because it was a proposition as Fender's top of the line guitar, and this is just guessing on my part. I don't think the Jaguar is as popular as the Jazzmaster. You know, they're not going to sell as many of them, so make more money.
That's true. Okay. From a business point, that definitely makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. That makes perfect sense.
So yeah, but other than that, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts on it. I prefer the Vintera 2 over the Vintera 1. That goes without saying. I am a player who typically prefers rosewood. I can make an exception for the right maple neck, and that is like the right one. The radius on the neck is the same, but it just feels a lot more comfortable on the maple neck. Go ahead.
It should be noted too, since you're talking about that, the frets on the Vintera 1 are vintage, the frets on the Vintera 2 are vintage tall, and that's a 60C profile, and that's a 70C profile.
Okay, so that that could be it. I like the experimenting they were doing in the 70s.
Yeah.
I prefer that, I guess, is what I'm getting to. What I said in the last video, in the Jaguar video, was that the Vintera 1 personally was not for me. I am not the player that it is geared towards, but I could see who it is for. On the other hand, the Vintera 2 Jaguar is something more geared toward my wheelhouse. It was a lot easier to play, the pickups are a lot hotter, and that is just a sick looking guitar. I don't want to say it looks aggressive, but like, it stands out.
I think if you want a very clean, more 60s tone, the Vintera 1 is an awesome machine for that. You get all the 60s Jaguar jangle. However, if you want something that is going to be good with dirt, something that is going to just do the damn thing, the Vintera 70s.
Yeah. I prefer the Vintera 2, but that is just me. I like a smaller feeling neck. I would take maple over Palfaro, but I would take rosewood above everything else.
I agree with you with the maple over Palfaro, and two things. If I had to pick one, it'd be kind of hard because I do like the price point of the Vintera 1.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I wish Fender would have leaned into, especially for the 70s era, where you could mix and match different things directly from the factory. Like with this, you still had in the 70s a rosewood fretboard with block and binding.
I know.
If Fender did like the vintage white, I think that would have been cool, and then just having this be the alternative offset. The only reason why I say don't do the black one in the same area because it'd be too similar to the Squire.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of ran into that issue with the 40th anniversary and like the Jazzmaster and the Vintera 2 line. Side by side, like at a quick glance, they look very similar. That desert sand color.
Yeah.
Yes, very sad. Anyway.
Overall, I think both are a wonderful buy for you.
Yep.
I definitely say that the Vintera 2 punches way above its belt. It's definitely the guitar I recommend, and I can't say enough positive things about it. However,
And here we go.
I will leave one negative thing. The blocks aren't vintage accurate. They're not the vintage size.
The blocks.
Yeah, the blocks. They're not. They're. Well, that's the thing. Like, no, like.
I get it. No, I get it. I get it. I just.
I mean, it's not like the American.
I get it.
It's not
I
like,
get it.
It's not like the American
I get it.
vintage. I'm trying to avoid AV2 gate all over again.
I understand. I both love and hate guitar players.
Well, hey, them's the blocks.
Yeah. So with that said, I guess,
Blocks.
so with that said, it's closing time around here. Actually, in the comments, let us know what's your favorite fretboard inlay: block and binding or dots, or if you're a PRS fan,
Trapezoid.
birds,
Birds.
or if you feel gothic, skulls.
Moons.
Yeah. Anyways, all the typical YouTuber shenanigans, like, subscribe, comment, yada yada yada. And this has been really awesome. Thank you, and later.
Adios.
Block lives matter.
Oh no.
Block inlay matters.